All right, we are recording for the PhotoshopMix compositing demo. So again, when you are downloading the app, it looks like this, PhotoshopMix. Press that, open it up. And so I'm just gonna delete the one I made from first period. Sorry, trash. There we go. So when you first get the app, it has those two tutorials that I showed on Wednesday. The first tutorial is a guided tutorial. So basically you click on it and then it'll tell you, in blue what to hit on, what to do as you do it. It's kind of a guided tutorial step by step. The first one is how to do the blending mode. So I can blend photo layers over each other. The second one was the crocodile and the donut. And so basically being able to cut out the donut and then refine the edge of the donut and then transform and then move it into the gator's mouth. So pretty useful. Those are something I would practice on before I do my actual, do it on my own photos. So in the top, you're just gonna hit the plus to add a new project. So it says start your project, come on exposure, and then I'm just gonna select image, or I could take a photo from my camera. I'm just gonna go to on my phone. So I'm gonna use this photo as my background photo. So I clicked on it and then it's gonna add it as a background photo. Next, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna get this, I think it's a little darker. There's a little plus button here, and that means I can add another image. So it says add layer, and I can select image. So I'm gonna select image, and then I'm gonna select my subject layer. It might say resize canvas. You can if you want to, you don't have to. It's basically trying to make sure they're kind of close in size. I'm just gonna hit cancel. So now I got my subject layer. This is from a shoot I did in July. And then my background layer. So you can see my layers here on the left. And then I could keep adding more layers with the plus. So what I wanna do, I'm just gonna kind of show you the different options on the bottom. So first we have the adjust, and that gives me different options. So the cool thing about PhotoshopMix, and I just figured this out this morning, is when you have a certain layer selected, and it's got the little blue box on that layer, when you click adjust, it'll only adjust that layer, which is very useful. I didn't know you could actually do individual layer adjustments. I thought I did to the whole photo. If I went to my background layer and I have that blue highlighted and I click adjust, it'll only do adjustments to my background layer. So you could adjust each layer independently with, there's an auto fix, color temperature, so maybe you need to fix the temperature, exposure, maybe you need to brighten or darken to match it. You could adjust the contrast, increase the contrast or decrease depending on how you shot your first photo. You can adjust the highlights and shadows. You could add clarity and then saturation. So those are all really useful things. If I shot one way and the color temperature is different, or one is more saturated, I need to desaturate a layer, right? Those are very useful. So those are the adjustments. And again, when I click on the top layer and I click on adjust, now it only adjusts just for that layer. So that's really cool. I'll just show you too, there's a looks option here. That is more just kind of like pre-made filters. So they have kind of like these different filters on the bottom. I'm not going to use that, but you might. That's cool. And then the one I want to do for my subject is, let's get the exposure, the cutout scissor option. So with the cutout option, it automatically goes to an add selection. So very much like our quick selection tool in Photoshop or Photopea, we're going to start selecting our subject, and it's going to do its best to guess and try to select our subject. And so I'm just going to zoom in using 2 fingers. So I'm going to make my subject really big, and then I'm just going to start selecting her shape out. And so you'll notice it might guess right, it might guess wrong. It is an app and it's free, but it does a pretty good job. So I selected her pretty well. There are other options. So there's the smart selection, the basic one, a lasso, which basically you drag around the shape. There is a shape one. And so you can kind of say like, oh, it's like a square shape or a circle shape. You can kind of help it out. The one I would think about using is this refine. And so what you can do, it gives you a feather option, a smooth edge option, and then to invert your selection. So with the feather option, you click on that, you can drag it up, and it'll basically, instead of like a hard edge, it can kind of soften the edge of your subject and kind of feather it a little bit. I'm gonna leave mine normal because it's pretty sharp and in focus. There is, when you click on the edges, there is a smooth option, and the smooth option is sort of like what I showed yesterday. If it's kind of like did a jaggedy selection and you want to kind of smooth out, like on the robe yesterday, it was kind of jaggedy. If you click the smooth, it'll help to kind of smooth out so there isn't any of those jags on your selection. The invert option, that is where you could select a subject and maybe you want to change the outside. So instead of selecting the inside, you want to select the outside around your subject. That would be the invert option. So once you're done, just hit the little check in the bottom right corner. And so there, I'm just gonna, so again, when you have a layer, you got the boxes, you can pinch it and make it bigger or smaller in the frame. And you can also rotate it. And so there you can see it did a fairly good job. There's a little stuff around her eye and hair that's got some white. A pretty good job cutting it out for an app. So pretty cool. So what I'm gonna do now is I wanna add a new layer and actually do basically like I did yesterday, like a double exposure where I blend a layer on top of her layer. So what I'm gonna do is, again, where my layers are, I'm gonna click this little plus button, add another image, and then I'm gonna add this image that I took of these palm fronds. And so I want those to kind of blend on her shape. And so this is just extra, I'm just showing you. So what we want to do now, next to cutout, it says blend. I'm going to press that. And you'll see little previews of each of the blending modes on the bottom. And so the one I want to use is screen. So basically you can kind of see what's happening here. It'll let the dark parts through the layer, and then whatever's white in the layer will kind of show solid. So I'm going to basically take those palm frond shapes. You can adjust the opacity here. So if you want it to be, a lighter percentage, like 53%, so it's a little more faded, that's cool. Otherwise, I'm just going to do 100% and then hit the check. So now I can't actually crop the photo in PhotoshopMix for some reason, not sure why. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to output it and then crop it either in the Apple Camera app or in the Photoshop Express. So all I'm going to do is go to the top, click on that little box with the arrow. I'm sorry. And then, there we go. So I'm going to save it to my camera roll. It's going to save it out and completed. So now I'm just going to go to my camera roll, and you can see it saved my composite in there. So what I want to do is just cut off the right side because it looks kind of weird. So I'm just going to use my crop tool, crop it, and hit done. So then, I could fine tune in Photoshop Express and maybe like heal off some of these parts from the palm frond that doesn't look that appealing. Let's make it exposure. There we go. So, but it looks pretty cool. I mean, that's pretty amazing for using a smartphone. I think that's pretty incredible. So I'm just going to stop the recording.